you ever stop to think that there are bad people out there?
I found Nat and her mom. I swear on my life I've seen the sun. See? I am not crazy!
The sudden disappearance of the sun.
Before we start this video, I just wanted to say thank you for the overwhelming support and your kind comments on the recent content. I really do appreciate it and hope to continue earning your support for years to come. I decided the time was right for us to regroup with TSV and his band of survivors. As a reminder, this is a part 2 to my original video covering the story of TheSunVanished. If you haven't seen the original source material or watched my first episode covering it, I recommend reading it and experiencing the video for yourself using the links in the description below. Last time TSV and Daniel had escaped the neighborhood after being almost attacked by some of the corrupted proxies and camera-headed creatures in the area. Fortunately, this is around the point of the story when some things start to pick up. For the sake of simplicity, I'll be talking about 2 journey arcs separately: the Nat Tucker arc and the TSV arc. While they do intertwine in this story, I feel as though for organization's sake, it'll be easier to talk about in a separate format. This also will reflect the creator's original vision for the universe of TheSunVanished, as Engin Akyurt has stated that the purpose of the multiple accounts is to tell different stories for this universe. That said, remember not to look into the flashing lights as they take you back into the cold, dark world of a vanished sun. Let's start with something I didn't mention in the last video: the existence of account number 3. On June 30th, 2018, an account suddenly surfaced under the name Nat, or Lost Sun News. Nat is a 14-year-old survivor that made it about 2 months as of her first post. She began showcasing many other survivor stories. From July 12th to July 31st of 2019, Nat had done nothing other than share the stories of other survivors around the world. A distinct one worth pointing out is one story from a couple in Germany who ran into a problem with some animals. It seems that the animals aren't safe from the flashing lights either, as they were attacked by a boar who strangely acted similar to another proxy we've seen before. After getting away, they noticed a huge increase of animals and other humans roaming the woods suddenly. They had initially been in the woods searching for military assistance at a local base, but they witnessed multiple flashing lights and gunshots coming from the area. They barely escaped. Nat pulls her followers about doing an interview with Tucker, who seems agitated and scared since he just managed to make it out of Indianapolis alive. According to him, he never managed to find his family after not being able to get through the city. Nat and Tucker begin to talk about the strobe creatures, but Tucker seems too strung out and snaps at Nat. On October 6, 2018, Nat tweeted out that it's her birthday, and Tucker sent her an apology for snapping at her. A few days later, Tucker explains what happened to his family. A blue flash similar to the one TSV had documented mutilated his family, and he constantly blames himself after storming out during an argument that actually saved his life. He talks about how the strobe creatures attacked him and the scene that he noticed while he was escaping.
I got out of there within an inch of my life. The thing I'll never forget, when I glanced back while running away, was seeing it look towards me. There was a large cylinder protruding from its head, and I swear to God its arms and legs grew right in front of my eyes.
Nat begins posting more stories of people's survival from October until about January 11th of 2019. The stories began to give us just a bit more details about the world as it stands. Firstly, there doesn't seem to be any stars in the sky regardless of the sun being gone. It's absolutely pitch black, according to multiple survivor accounts. A Russian soldier in their camp actually managed to shoot a ship out of the sky, but realized that any contact with the remains would actually kill you. Other messages include someone questioning why TSV, Tucker, and Nat are all broadcasting themselves on social media when there could be evil eyes watching them. Another account comes from a military man, somebody from the 92nd Chemical Battalion, stating that they found out the hard way that boiling the water does not make it safe. They actually had to leave their friend behind because of it. January 20th, however, is when things start to unravel for our favorite newswoman.
Please help. I can't stay. There's something inside. My mom got out. I had her locked away because she wasn't herself anymore, and now she's out. I can't do this again.
Tucker, who's been inactive for a few months, finds Nat's cries for help and messages her frantically. Nat actually had her parents locked in the house she was staying in. Unfortunately for her, her mother broke out and actually attacked her. Now with a deep wound, she frantically begins looking for a place to go, and Tucker decides that he'll make the journey to get to her. It takes a couple weeks, but he manages to find the address she had actually given him. He slowly makes his way through a silent, desolate home. He can't seem to find anything, but feels like that he's missing something. That's when he presses his ear to a basement wall. Tucker and Nat are finally united. They bury Nat's parents and begin their journey home. Before we wrap up this arc for now, there's one more post that Nat makes that I should mention. The soldier from the 92nd Chemical Battalion makes an update for Nat. He mentions that his group has joined up with the Lieutenant Colonel's convoy that left a nearby military base. He states that there's some sort of contingency plan in place, according to the Lieutenant Colonel, but they're never given any answers to what it is. And of course, that means I have a feeling the government's hiding something about the invasion in this world. Before I touch on that though, it's time for us to rewind back to TSV's arc. Let's go all the way back to July 7th of 2018. This was right after Nat made her first post on Twitter. TSV decided to update us after a month-long hiatus. He states that Daniel and him have been camping out in rural areas away from the cities. He also notes that he saw a star disappear and even documents it fading into blackness. TSV then tells us that Daniel and him have actually been fighting over the documenting and the use of Twitter to reach out to people, stating that he's worried it's too dangerous. During the arguing, a storm rolls in and they manage to capture this. They pack up and begin moving back to areas with reception, leaving TSV to update us while Daniel goes out to siphon fuel from cars. On July 12th, Nat and TSV actually make contact, and he tells her to stay low before resting for the night. The next day, Daniel still hasn't returned or answered any of TSV's messages. There's been no activity nearby. Until July 16th when we get this. He escapes again but deactivates until September 30th due to his low battery charge. He finds a car with keys still in the ignition, but before nabbing it, he almost loses his life to what appears to be some kind of trap. Are these creatures more intelligent than we once thought they were? TSV updates us again once he finds a colder location, stating that where the ships don't go is usually much colder than the areas where they seem to frequent. The ships continue to heat the Earth, and the creatures actually seem to frequent warmer areas. He mentioned that some followers had actually rescued him from his encounter with the strobe creature, and they had actually survived until the flight patterns had suddenly changed. He was the only one who would make it out alive, unfortunately. He then briefly touches on Daniel leaving him out in the woods, stating that he couldn't believe that he had actually trusted him. Daniel sent TSV his location, stating that he only left because some bad people would have hurt the both of them over some information that Daniel had. He decides that even though he's hurt, he can't abandon Daniel, and decides to make his way to the coordinates. On October 4th of 2018, TSV mentions he hears military jets flying around after watching a ship come crashing down. This is similar to a few stories Nat had mentioned on her account of the military actually mobilizing. On his way to Daniel, TSV also mentions that all the mirrors are strangely gone from cars at a nearby junkyard, before going dark for over a month. He suddenly returns talking about a memory he had with Daniel about playing in trees before realizing he's been gone for exactly a month. Followers of the story tell him he's been gone, and he mentions that only a week had passed for him when suddenly he winds up in front of a creek. Loie Lane, a content creator who's widely known for covering the series, mentions to TSV that he should check his camera roll, just to see if he could find anything while he was blacked out. Sure enough, he finds 3 photos in a folder called Remember. With the beginning of December rolling on, TSV keeps mentioning he needs to stay by the water for some reason that he just can't explain. Of course, trouble follows and he runs into another strobe creature in the process, narrowly avoiding it. Tucker messages him checking in on his mental state, saying that the tampered water messes with you psychologically to leave you vulnerable, which could actually be what caused TSV to black out earlier as well. As the new year starts, TSV makes his way through the city on January 19th of 2019. He begins stockpiling on supplies while also showing us a new photo that made its way into the Remember folder of his photo gallery. Seems like a rainy night shot of a street with a car on the road. I tried writing this image, but I haven't seen much worth of note. It seems to be a similar location to his original house back in the first video if you match up the porch. If you see something substantial in it, leave it in the comments, I'd really like to know. After running out of gas, TSV hikes on foot to get some, and when he returns, more corrupted people show up. TSV only has one option. He has to sneak in. After fashioning a splint for his broken arm, he continues to Danyan. The final 2 posts we'll leave off on for today are his posts on March 3rd and March 17th of 2019. They read as follows.
I just woke up from a very surreal dream. I was back at the cell tower where I camped out for a week when Danny disappeared. Except in the dream, the sun was still up in the sky and it was snowing. Danny and Tucker and Nat were all there with me. At least their bodies were.
It seems like his dreams are now starting to take on more of a grim and surreal imagery. His last post for the day reads,
I'm so close to the coordinates now. It's been a long time since I've really thought about it. For the past few months, it's just been a mindless mission. I don't know if I should put myself in an emotionally vulnerable mindset again. Whatever happens, happens.
So I think it's pretty clear that after potentially consuming some tainted water, TSV is starting to experience more and more questions around his own sanity. We're starting to question whether or not our lovable survivor is actually in his right mind, or even if he's a reliable narrator anymore, thanks to his shaking spelling and dreams seemingly getting to him. Danyan left him, similar to the story of the 92nd Chemical Battalion soldier from Nat's story accounts. The reason the soldier even found out the water wasn't good was because they had to leave his friend behind after boiling it and drinking it, similarly to TSV and Danyan. The mirrors being gone from the junkyard and this plan that the military seems to have could be related somehow. Maybe they began using the mirrors to deflect the lights or combat them, potentially? Maybe the monsters are just breaking them so that way they don't mindlessly get affected by them somehow. That's kind of a mystery in itself and an odd little detail to include in the story that just seems too good to be a one-off. The remember photos are also a weird puzzle piece that I haven't quite figured out myself yet. Some think that there are things in the photos that are potentially significant, such as the deer photo in the remember folder. That's the only one that's blurry for some reason. I personally haven't seen anything out of the ordinary with these photos, and I've tried every which way to try to decipher them somehow. The one thing that I've noticed is they do seem to be similar to places that TSV has potentially already visited. The one shot of his porch for some reason sticks out to me. I think being able to see what those strobe creatures look like up close as well was a nice touch. It kind of confirms a similar theory that we had in the last episode about the camera-headed creatures' existences. It kind of showcases what appears to be the true form of the strobe monsters themselves, some kind of flashing camera creature that does something with the lights. It was also interesting to see the blue light in action, though I do wonder what it was trying to hit. If they were trying to hit TSV, wouldn't it have affected him if the light had hit him in any which way, or would it only be if he looked at it? There's still so many questions and interesting leads, even though we only got a few answers. And the best part is we still have a little bit more to go. Thank you all for watching this video, and I know you've all wanted to see it for a long time. The numbers don't lie after all. You guys seem to really like when I cover stories like these, so I'm happy to do it. The next part will be coming shortly, and I hope you stick around for the final part. As always, the creators' links will be in the description below, and please go read it for yourself if you haven't. Show them the support and tell them I sent you. They're the real masterminds behind this story. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like and comment, or even subscribe to be notified of the next upload. Remember that you're loved, and I look forward to broadcasting to your screens yet again next time. Sleep tight.